Corky Witt at the American Museum of Science and Energy, and we're going to be meeting Mr. Stuffy today and learn about our insides, about anatomy and physiology. This blue tuft of hair will give us a hint of what Mr. Stuffy may look like, but let's look at him a little more carefully. Meet Mr. Stuffy. Why did we give him blue hair rather than red hair or black hair or blonde hair? Well, it's to show us that we're all a little different on the outside, but we're all the same on the inside. Let's learn more about our internal organs. Mr. Stuffy's heart is right here, and let's check that out. His heart is actually beating. That helps pump our blood through our body. He also has a heart patch on his wrist, and that's showing that he doesn't have a heart in his wrist, but he also has a pulse there. So if you take your pointer finger, your index finger, and find the little groove right in your wrist and touch that, you can feel your pulse. It's not your heart there, but it's the blood going through one of your vessels. And with your other finger, go to the back of your ear, and there's another vessel there, an artery. You can feel the pulse there too. So you can actually feel your heartbeat and count when you're exercising how many beats per minute. When you're resting, it's slower, faster, pumping the blood through your body. Let's see what else is in Mr. Stuffy's insides. What do we have here? This is Mr. Stuffy's heart. Your heart is about the size of your fist. If you put it right up the middle of your chest, that vessel pumps the blood through your body, carrying the food and oxygen that your cells need to live. Let's see what else is in Mr. Stuffy. What is this? Oh my goodness. He has two of these huge pink things. What do you think these are? These are our lungs that when we breathe, the oxygen goes into the lungs, and it goes through this structure. This is our windpipe, or the trachea, situated right here from our nose and mouth down to our lungs, and our lungs sit up in our chest. This lung has two parts. Let me open it up and show you. These red, white, and blue structures, let's talk about them. The red, as you know from what we talked about with the heart, carries the oxygenated blood, and the blue carries the deoxygenated blood that's carrying carbon dioxide. The little white circles are the air sacs called the alveoli, and that is where the diffusion from the oxygen is transferred into the bloodstream. This one has three parts, so each of your lungs is a little bit different. You have one that's three-lobed and one is two-lobed. So this is the system where we get oxygen into our body, picked up by the blood to carry throughout our system. Let's see what else is in Mr. Stuffy. All right, I'm gonna put this in the position where it would sit in your body. And this long tube is the food tube, and the word, when you swallow something, it goes down this tube, and it's called the esophagus. It's kind of a big word. When we chew food, the saliva in our mouth begins the digestion, but when it goes into the stomach, there are other digestive juices that break down the proteins and the sugars and make sort of a solution of it before it goes into our intestinal tract. Ah, what do we have here? What do you think this is? This is the liver. It sits right on top of our stomach. Let's zip it open and see what's inside. Green, This is something called bile. There's a gallbladder nestled in the liver that helps us digest fats. And the pancreas is really important in making some chemicals called hormones that help us regulate sugar. These are the kidneys, and I can't resist doing this. Kidneys sit in the back of our body cavity, and they are the filters. Blood goes through the kidneys, shown by the red and the blue vessels, filters out the waste materials from the blood that the cells have produced. And it goes into our bladder, and that's what we void when we go to the bathroom, when we urinate. Okay, what's left? What is this? It keeps coming out, and coming out, and coming out. 19 and a half feet of intestine. That's incredible. A lot of people think the intestinal tract is the sewer pipe. Not at all. There are lots of blood vessels that are connected to the intestines, and this is where we're absorbing the nutrients from the food we eat, the proteins, the carbohydrates, the lipids. This is where we absorb the good stuff. It goes through our circulatory system, through our cells, and nourishes our little factories, the cells in our body that give us energy that we need to run, play, and think. Just when you thought there was nothing left inside, there is still more. Let's see. Oh, what is this? We have two intestines, the large intestine and the small intestine. And which do you think is the small intestine? Is it the short one or the long one? Well, if your guess was the long one, you are correct. That's the one that comes right out from the stomach, and it is not how long it is, it's the diameter, how far around it is. So the small intestine is smaller around. The large intestine is shorter, but it's longer around. So what happens in the small intestine is the nutrients are absorbed into our bloodstream. What happens in the large intestine is water is absorbed. So this being a science class, we can talk about anything. I think we all know what diarrhea is, all right? Diarrhea is when everything kind of zooms through and you have a lot of liquid, very liquid stool coming out of you. That's because bacteria is affecting your intestine and everything is rushing through. And once you take, a lot of times when you are not feeling well, your moms and dads maybe give you soft drinks or popsicles, kind of keep you hydrated because you don't want to be dehydrated, because when you're losing all that liquid, you just don't feel good. And so when things have settled down and you're feeling better, you may drink some kind of, or be given some kind of medicine. Everything slows down and the water is absorbed, and your fecal material, your stool, is solid again. So diarrhea is really harmful to when you're losing so much of your fluid. And you got to stay hydrated, because believe it or not, we are 70% water. You're saying, I'm solid as a rock. I'm not that squishy sponge, but by volume, you're over 70% water. A lot of us don't realize this. We just unpacked Mr. Stuffy. Now let's stuff him back. So we've stuffed Mr. Stuffy, put him all back together. We're going to zip him up in his enclosure and encourage you to come visit us at the American Museum of Science and Energy and visit Mr. Stuffy.